各位记者朋友，大家下午好。
Good afternoon. Welcome to today's press conference. Now the floor is open to questions.
发言人你好，总台央视记者。12月15号在
CCTV on December 15th, Japan's foreign minister, during a session at the House of Councillors, made statements regarding the Taiwan question that the government of Japan fully understands and respects the stand of the government of the People's Republic of China, and it firmly maintains its stand under Article 8 of the Potsdam Proclamation. Japanese Prime Minister insisted that the Japanese side's consistent position is the Taiwan question should be resolved peacefully through dialogue. What's your comment? China noted the remarks. The Japanese foreign minister yesterday repeated some of the clauses regarding the Taiwan question stated in the Sino-Japanese joint statement. Article 8 of the document states that the government of Japan fully understands and respects the stand of the government of the People's Republic of China, and it firmly maintains its stand under Article 8 of the Potsdam Proclamation. We also noted that the Japanese side did not reiterate the important clause of the document which states the government of Japan recognizes the government of the PRC as the sole legal government of China, and Taiwan is an inalienable part of the territory of the PRC. Let me stress that the Japanese side, when citing the Cairo Declaration, only mentioned Manchuria, Formosa, and the Pescadores, and deliberately sidestepped the important information that they are territories Japan has stolen from the Chinese. The Japanese side also juxtaposed the Sino-Japanese joint statement and the so-called Treaty of San Francisco, violating the commitment it has made and principles in international law, attempting to rehash the fallacy that Taiwan's status is undetermined and interfering in China's domestic affairs. The recent statements show that Japan is still being evasive and intentionally creating trouble on issues of critical importance in an attempt to mislead the public and hope that somehow the issue would resolve itself. China firmly opposes it. Foreign Minister Wang Yi last week made an authoritative and detailed statement that Taiwan's status as Chinese territory has been affirmed. The core content is as follows. The Cairo Declaration stated clearly that all the territories Japan has stolen from China, such as Taiwan, must be restored to China, and the Potsdam Proclamation said provisions of the Cairo Declaration must be observed. In 1945, with Japan's defeat in the war, the Japanese emperor undertook to carry out the provisions of the Potsdam Proclamation in good faith and announced Japan's unconditional surrender. On October 25th, the Chinese government announced it would resume the exercise of sovereignty over Taiwan. In 1949, the Central People's Government of the PRC replaced the government of the Republic of China, became the sole legal government representing the whole of China, and naturally began to exercise sovereignty over all of China's territory, including Taiwan. The 1972 Sino-Japanese joint statement provided clear provision on the Taiwan question. The 1978 Treaty of Peace and Friendship, ratified by the two countries' legislators, affirmed that the principles set out in the 1972 joint statement should be strictly observed. I must point out the following facts. During the negotiation of the normalization of China-Japan diplomatic relations, the Treaty Bureau Chief of Japan's Foreign Ministry clearly stated that Japanese government's position is that Taiwan should be restored to China. And after the normalization of China-Japan diplomatic ties, in November 1972, the then Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister said at the Diet that disputes between the mainland and Taiwan is China's internal affair. Antagonism between the PRC and Taiwan is China's internal affair. In February 1975, the then Foreign Minister said at the Diet that conflict across the strait should be a civil war in legal terms. And in 1998, the two governments issued the joint statement on building a partnership of friendship and cooperation for peace and development, which includes a very important statement. The Japanese side continues to maintain its stand on the Taiwan issue, which was set forth in the joint communique of the governments of Japan and the government of the People's Republic of China, and reiterates its standing that there is one China. Let me stress that this year marks the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War and the recovery of Taiwan. Japan once invaded and exercised colonial rule over Taiwan for 50 years, committed innumerable crimes, and bears historical historical responsibilities on the Taiwan question. Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory. Resolving the Taiwan question is a matter for the Chinese ourselves, and Japan is in no position to make any interference. Let me once again urge Japan to abide by the spirit of the 4 political documents between China and Japan, earnestly do soul-searching and correct its wrongdoing, and retract the erroneous remarks of Prime Minister Takaichi. Next one, please.
第8中我是记者阿斯玛提问。
China Arab TV. During its visit to Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Jordan, Foreign Minister Wang Yi is in the critical preparation period of the second China-Arab Summit. What's the significance and outcomes of the visit, and what's more information about the preparation of the summit?
Foreign Minister Wang Yi's visit to Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Jordan was a full success. A series of new common understandings and new outcomes on implementing the important common understandings between President Xi Jinping and the leaders of the 3 countries and promoting bilateral relations were achieved. This visit further enhances political mutual trust. Foreign Minister Wang Yi stated that China always stands together with the global south and small and medium countries. China firmly safeguards the common interests of developing countries, supporting the 3 countries in upholding strategic autonomy and pursuing the path suited to their respective national conditions. China is always the most trustworthy strategic partner. The 3 countries reaffirm their commitments to the One China principle and that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory. The 3 countries agreed to support China in making the second China-Arab State Summit a success. The visit further promotes China-Arab States cooperation. Both sides agreed to further align our development strategies, deepen cooperation in traditional fields, expand cooperation in emerging and future industries, enrich partnerships, and bring more benefits to the peoples. The visit further deepens China-Arab States' all-round coordination. The 3 countries speak highly of and actively support the 4 major global initiatives proposed by President Xi Jinping and appreciate China's upholding the just position on the Palestinian question and other issues. They agreed to strengthen solidarity and cooperation, jointly safeguard regional peace and stability, and together promote multipolarity. Next one, please.
Thank you. A question from AFP.
法新社，美国总统特朗普昨天表示，对于黎智英的审判感到十分的难过。他表示曾要求习近平主席释放黎智英，英国也呼吁释放黎智英，并且召见了中国驻英大使。中方对此有何评论？以及关于此案有更多信息可以提供吗？
Today, we've shared China's position. Hong Kong upholds the rule of law. The central government firmly supports the SAR in safeguarding national security in accordance with law and punishing criminal activities endanger national security. Next one, please.
好的，发言人好。北京日报记者提问：据报道，台湾外事部门。
Beijing Daily is reported that the head of Taiwan's Foreign Affairs Department, Lin Xiaolong, when asked about how to maintain friendly ties with Honduras in the competition with the Chinese mainland, said that Taiwan builds a relationship of trust and prosperity, was China's comment. The Taiwan authorities' dollar diplomacy under the disguise of trust and prosperity cannot cover up their inclination to use any means possible to advance the Taiwan independence agenda, nor can it deceive public opinion and the people in Taiwan. The Taiwan independence forces and DPP authorities go in the opposite direction of where the arc of history bends, and their attempts are doomed to fail. Since the establishment of China-Honduras diplomatic relations, the 2 countries reaped fruitful cooperation outcomes in various fields. The long-term development capacity of Honduras has been effectively boosted, and the 2 countries countries and peoples benefited greatly. Facts prove that upholding the One China principle is the right choice that accords with the trend of history and our times, and serves the fundamental interests of relevant countries and their peoples.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
China Daily, on the morning of December 16th, Japanese Defense Minister Koizumi said in a response to a question about Japan's rise of military expenditure, he said that who should we look at? For example, China, who increases its military expenditure by 7 times in 20 years, and its rise in recent 3 years also exceeds that of Japan. What's your comment? The Japanese side made groundless and false accusations against China's legitimate defense development. This egregious act was rather disgraceful. With regard to peace and security, China is the major country with the best track record. The rise of China's defense expenditure is legitimate and lawful, which is necessary for China's response to security challenges, protection of legitimate national interests, and the better fulfillment of its international responsibility. The Japanese side, with a poor track record of aggression, is in no position to make irresponsible remarks. Owing to its horrendous and untold history of aggression, Japan's moves in military and security areas have been closely watched by its Asian neighbors and the world. In the fiscal year of 2025, Japan's defense spending per capita and spending per armed forces personnel are triple and double the amount of China, respectively. In recent years, the Japanese side has been revamping the security and defense policies and increasing its defense budget for 13 consecutive years, with a jump of around 60% in 5 years. Japan also removed the ban on exercising the right to collective self-defense, developed the capacity to strike enemy bases, revised principles on armed exports, strengthened cooperation on extended deterrence, and attempted to revise its 3 non-nuclear principles. Japan talks about passive defense strategy, which is exclusively defense-oriented, but run counter to its obligations as a defeated country in Cairo Declaration and Potsdam Proclamation, and give up its commitments to other countries in its constitution. Who is expanding military buildup, who is trying to interfere in other countries' internal affairs by force and challenge other countries' core interests, who is threatening regional peace and stability, is clear to all who is right and wrong. Japan is accelerating its attempts to remilitarize, which will only put the world wonder where Japan is headed. All peace-loving countries should be on high alert and firmly thwart any dangerous moves that will revive Japan's militarism and jointly uphold the hard-won results of the World War victory. Next one, please.
朝日电视台提问：据悉
TV Asahi. We have learned that Chinese students who are going to study in Japan on a government scholarship or exchange programs have to give up or postpone their plan to study in Japan. Affecting these students, what's your comment? For quite recent time, there have been rising safety risks in Japan and the frequent crimes against the Chinese nationals, and the security and study environment there is less than sound. The security risks are on the rise, targeting Chinese nationals. We urge the Japanese side to fully protect the security and legitimate rights and interests of Chinese students there. Next one, please. Any more questions?
好，今天的记者会到此结束，谢谢大家。
That's the end of today's press conference. Thank you for coming.